The Insurance Pro Blog Podcast, episode number 400. IUL booms if stocks tank? There is no asset more versatile or more protected from volatility than life insurance. Add it to your retirement plan to shield against the unknown. We've been doing this for decades. Let us help you add a layer of security to your portfolio today. Check out more at theinsuranceproblog.com. That's theinsuranceproblog.com. Hello and welcome. This is the Insurance Pro Blog Podcast. It's Monday, December, 3rd? 2nd? Something like that. That's not in the notes, so that's okay. This is episode 400. I am Brandon Roberts.
And I am Brantley Whitley.
And as you can see, we've turned the page on the I Don't Care podcast here.
Yes, but we are screaming at the clouds once again.
As far as the date goes, who cares? You're listening to the internet's favorite podcast about life insurance, though.
And
welcome, congratulations, and we thank you.
And other things that people care very little about. But we're thankful. We are. Come on over to listen to two middle-aged guys. I don't know. Well, maybe I'm not quite there yet. But anyways, yes, you are, sir.
Two guys scream at the clouds.
That's right. It's a new idea for our rebrand. We welcome your feedback.
I'm going to draw one lucky name for a toaster.
If you hadn't noticed, I'm a little loopy on cold medicine. So this week's been one of those weeks.
That could make it a very good podcast recording then.
COVID 4.0 has arrived.
Ooh, that's no good.
Well, I mean, the upside is I don't have to buy coffee right now. I can just drink hot water because it all tastes the same.
Hey.
I can't smell or taste anything. I
Come
realized
back
that
next
the other
week
day.
For more money-saving tips from Brantley Whitley.
That's right. I was having a cup of coffee yesterday, and I'm like, I need it. I can't smell it. There's nothing. I don't know. Guess I could have just had a cup of hot water.
Thank you for smacking your lips in front of the microphone.
Hey, this is Hot Pod. All right. Nobody cares.
Yes,
they want to hear us talk about life insurance.
You want to know what the scoop is on life insurance, specifically index universal life insurance, in an environment where the stock market just won't go up, because we seem to be obsessed about that narrative right now.
Some people do, yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, I was saying you and I, but
oh, yeah, we are. We're obsessed with that.
We're taking and running with it. Not that we necessarily believe it, but hey, if you do, we will.
Well, I mean, there are a lot of
satisfy
people.
That
I was just saying there are a lot of people out there who believe that right now. So.
Yes, there are. Hey, it's been a good run.
I learned from all you people who've been listening to us from days of yore, that I don't make macroeconomic predictions on the podcast. Mm-hmm. So, i.e. the Bondex, I was right.
Mm-hmm.
I was just like 12 years early. 10
a
years,
call
maybe.
That will forever ever have a certain sting in the memory. the emotional scarring it has.
Well, I didn't give a timeline to it, in fairness. I just said when it happens.
Yeah.
And it did happen.
It did.
It's just 10 years later.
Right. Hey, here's the one thing we can be thankful of.
What's that?
You survived.
Yeah.
In the same capacity all the way up to the point where your prediction came true.
That's right.
There aren't that many people who get that luxury.
That's right. When you have nothing on the line, that's how it works.
Imagine that. You could make a call and be right 12 years later and your podcast is still around. We joke about that internet's favorite podcast thing, but hey, we got something going. A lot of people don't.
That's right. Mostly low production value and very few people who listen. That's
in any event, index universal life insurance is in the crosshairs today.
Yeah.
Of discussion. In the context of what happens if this call that came out just a couple weeks ago, that 3% compounded is the sort of average expectation of the next 10 years.
Right.
Wouldn't that mean really bad things for indexed universal life insurance?
Yes. It would.
Okay. Well, Thanks for tuning in. And
I don't know. What do you think?
I think it depends.
Classic.
Yes.
Classic answer. Well, I mean, It's easy to assume that would be bad.
Yes. On its face, it seems like if the market's not going to do well for the next 10 years, then the product that seems to be tied to the market is not going to do well for the next 10 years.
I have a however at the end of this.
Okay.
There's a little bit something different about the way IUL works that might make it not as bad as you think it is.
That is why it depends.
Yep.
Look,
I read between the lines.
If the next 10 years is moderate kind of growth, just in the market year over year over year, that's not great news for index universal life insurance.
No, that's not good. Well, it's not good for anything, but
unless interest rates are high, and we'll get into that. But if that's what happens, then no, that's not great news for index universal life insurance.
Right. But in other words, if you assume that it was a static 3% across all 10 years.
Year over year.
Right.
Correct. But if that 3% materializes more in the way the last decade materialized, time frame 2000, 2009, where we have good years, we have bad years, then it's a different story. And we've addressed this before.
Yeah.
So the thing about index universal life insurance or indexed insurance products across the board is the periodization of interest earnings by the movement in the index. What I mean by that is if we have a good year, let's say up 15%.
Yeah.
And we get an index credit that is something like, say, 10%.
Right.
Then we have a bad year where the index is down 10%.
Yep.
Well, with most index universal life insurance products, our typical bad case scenario is 0.
Right.
In a couple of cases, it might be 1%.
Right.
So
you got to keep the 10 and the worst you did the next year was 0.
And the other thing that tends to happen is when the market goes down, it tends to bounce back.
Yeah.
And that bounce back really benefits index universal life insurance. Take 2008, for example, S&P 500 down almost 40%. Following year, it was up a lot.
Yeah.
Double-digit increase following year.
Mm-hmm.
So very likely scenario for index universal life insurance is 2008 to 0. 2009 is the highest possible interest you could achieve on the product.
Right.
Those things happen.
From a higher level. Because you didn't go down 48% if you had an index universal life product.
Correct. So when those things happen, what we see is an actual rate of return result from index universal life insurance that is quite good.
Yeah.
Because it's benefiting from movement, not by the overall trend.
Right. Exactly.
So if movement is still pretty good, we're still seeing ups and downs that are above 3%.
Yep.
Then index universal life insurance mechanically will do just fine.
Yes.
But if it's moderate, year over year over year of 2, 3, 4% S&P 500 returns, which would be unheard of. But if that happens,
I was going to say that would be like the first time ever that's happened.
That would be a bad thing for index universal life.
Sure. Not typically how markets work, though.
Correct. Now, last week, we spent a lot of time talking about whole life insurance and the fact that it is a wonderful buffer against situations like this.
Yep.
Because index universal life insurance, because whole life insurance is going to have a very consistent year over year rate of return. And with interest rates being higher, that's looking even better every day.
Right. But.
And there are circumstances that are materializing that might be additional upward pressures on interest rates.
Yeah.
Which will be good news for whole life insurance.
Yep.
Here's the thing. Almost all of those forces are also positively beneficial for index universal life insurance.
Yep. I agree with that.
In a couple of different ways. One, index universal life insurance is going to benefit from higher interest rates in the sense of cap rate setting.
Yep.
Because there will be more money in the options budget to purchase those financial tools that are needed to create index caps.
Right. Meaning that the insurance company has to dedicate or reserve less money to meet the guarantees under the contract.
Correct.
Than it otherwise would. Because the guarantees are very much based on prevailing interest rates.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Now, does this mean that we think if we get the 3% average over the next 10 years, indexed universal life insurance will be the winner. It'll beat the market. That one's dicey.
Yeah.
Yes, indexed universal life insurance in many flavors beat the market in the last decade period.
Yeah.
It did. But the products that we're using to analyze that did not exist back then.
Right.
So we don't necessarily know with 100% certainty what would have happened to those products back then.
Right.
Here's what we do know, though. Indexed universal life insurance policies do have a fixed account.
Yep.
And fixed account universal life insurance absolutely existed on that time frame.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And did just fine.
Yep.
Because as interest rates go up, that also increases, in most cases, the fixed account on indexed universal life insurance.
Yep.
We've seen that play out very fast, very
in the
rapidly,
past
much
couple
faster
years,
than whole life insurance did.
Oh my
In
gosh,
the past
yeah.
couple of years.
Yeah, those policies, a lot of them went from 2 to 5. Like,
very fast.
bam.
And there's something underlying universal life insurance that allows that to happen that doesn't exist on the whole life side. So whole life increases are driven by dividends.
Yep.
Dividends are driven by primarily profitability, and again, primarily by profitability of investments.
Right.
So in some cases, well, in all cases, underwriting profits are also there.
Yeah.
So
But
fewer
investment
people died
yield
than we expected.
is the primary driver.
But there's not much an insurance company can do to make underwriting profit increase
No.
quickly.
No.
They can't call all the policyholders and say, don't die this year. But if interest rates go up, bond yields are rising, insurance companies are likely to see a higher amount of investment profit out of that. Maybe not immediately, but it starts to move in that direction in a relatively short period of time.
Yep.
By which I mean like 5 years.
Yeah.
Universal life insurance.
And functionally speaking, yeah, because of the mechanics of how whole life insurance works versus index insurance. I don't want to get too deep in the weeds, but to raise a dividend, that means they have to do something across all of the general account assets, which is a huge pool of money. To raise the interest rate on an IUL policy, it doesn't have to apply across anything because it's not it's what am I trying to say here?
It's not a dividend. It's not going to be something that is paid.
It's not
out
based
of
on the profitability.
profits.
There you go. It doesn't have anything to do with that. It has to do what can they buy prevailing fixed assets for at the time. That's all. And they'll give you that rate for a year.
And the reserving aspect of universal life insurance, think of that as the expense, the ongoing
That's what I was trying to
liability
get at. Yeah.
That an insurance company has with universal life insurance is substantially smaller than it is with whole life insurance. So there's a lot more flexibility, a lot more nimbleness in the ability to move interest rates around on universal life insurance products.
Yep.
So if we see a stalled out market because of stalled out economic conditions, if we see higher inflationary circumstances warranting higher interest rates, we will almost definitely see interest rates on indexed universal life insurance fixed accounts rise much more rapidly than we will on whole life accounts.
Right.
We may get to a point where those who own indexed universal life insurance, or even those who are contemplating a purchase of indexed universal life insurance, might look at the fixed account and decide, you know what? That's good enough. I don't really need the indexing piece anymore.
At least for a year, right? I mean, we've had some people do that, not entirely, but for a piece of the cash value.
Yep.
I go, I don't need it all in an index if I can get 5%.
Well, we just had a situation somewhat recently where just the functional mechanics of something meant that a portion of the money in a policy was going to sit in the fixed account until something else took place.
Right.
And so we were warned that, hey, this is how it's going to work. And our assessment on that was at the current fixed account rate, which is like 5.5%.
That's okay.
That wouldn't suck.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
So the fixed account on an indexed universal life insurance policy is a real feature that could come into play as a place a lot of the money sits. Now, at the same time, I do think there are a number of life insurance companies that are going to try and put incentives in place to get people to stay in indexed accounts. And that's not to say that they're going to hold fixed account interest rates low.
Right.
But rather, they're going to be a little bit mindful of the fact that money that leaves indexed accounts leaves less money available to buy the investments that are necessary to make the indexed accounts work.
Right.
So this will put pressure on insurance companies using indexed universal life insurance to keep cap rates high, participation rates high. They're not going to cannibalize these things.
Right. And the economics will be such that they can do that. They can be more competitive.
Now, something that we have commented on numerous times in the past, and is a good time to reiterate in all of this, is the fact that you can own indexed universal life insurance in an environment where you're very unsure of what the future holds.
Yep.
As far as the market is concerned. So you could be looking at this call for a 3% average rate of return. You could be looking at your current positions being up a certain percentage and thinking this has gone really, really well. But I have no idea what's going to happen over the next 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. And I'm worried. And I don't want to lose the money that I've made. The cool thing about indexed universal life insurance as a safety position in the context of your entire portfolio is the fact that you don't really care what happens over the next 3, 6, 12, 18, 24 months.
Right.
Because you are not going to lose money if the market goes down.
Right.
As a result of the asset that you held is now worth less.
Mm-hmm.
You will instead stay basically where you are. Yes, expenses get deducted from policy cash values if there isn't any growth in the index. But again, you could hedge some of that by allocating some of the money to the fixed account. You may have an indexed account that has a 1% floor that may be sufficient to cover most expenses of the policy. There's several things to
But
several ways to address
we've
this.
set up some where we made sure the fixed account was enough to cover.
Yep.
The return on that was more than enough to cover.
There's also just a simple question of whether or not those expenses even matter in the grand scheme of where you're going.
Well, my opinion is they don't, but that's
the one thing that
another
you don't
discussion
have
for
to
another
do.
day.
The one thing you don't have to do is suffer through a down 20% situation.
Right.
And then wait for it to come back.
Yep.
That's not going to happen with indexed universal life insurance.
Nope.
So you get the enviable position of market could go down. And that would not be great for the sake of my accumulation. But if it did, I'm at least going to be able to benefit from the rise back in the market afterward.
Yep.
And continue to just go from there. So the safety aspect of indexed universal life insurance is actually very similar to the safety aspect of whole life insurance. I don't think it's as soothing to the mind because whole life insurance does bring to the table a year-over-year consistency that indexed universal life insurance will have a difficult time matching.
Yes.
And that's just the reality of the situation.
Well, the thing is, I think if you viewed them on a line graph, the growth of cash value, and let's just say you were doing it retrospectively. So you were looking back over a 30-year or a 40-year period. You would see that the slope of the whole life policy and the cash value growth is very gentle. It's a very gentle slope upward.
Yep.
Whereas now everyone's going to be like, but it's negative the first few years. Like, okay, they're both negative the first few years. Okay. Let's get over that. I'm talking about the point at which we begin to have a positive internal rate of return, however many years that is out. What you'll see is that the whole life is it doesn't bump around. It just goes up, but it's just incremental. And then the slope increases in its steepness as it gets older, right? With indexed universal life insurance, it would be much more
it would bounce around.
I wouldn't say erratic because it's not going to look like a oscilloscope or anything, or
like a typical stock mountain chart, which can look quite erratic at times.
It's not going to look like
in
that
a shorter period,
but
of time.
it's going to have some steep jumps up.
Yep.
And then it's going to have some periods where it just kind of levels out, or maybe goes slightly upward. But it's going to be a bit more erratic in that regard.
It is. And, speaking of that fact, and I'm somewhat hesitant to bring this up because I think it doesn't matter, but some people kind of latch onto this. So a lot of people worry about how long it takes to break even.
Yeah.
And we've put a lot of policies in force.
Mm-hmm.
And we put a lot of whole life policies, a lot of index universal life insurance policies in force.
Yep.
When it comes to whole life policies, they break even on schedule.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
When dividends go down, we've seen it like it's a year late.
Yep.
Index universal life insurance, we have hit positive cash positions very early.
Yeah. And the caveat or the asterisk to both of those is assuming you pay the premiums as you planned.
Yeah.
Which,
yep,
may come as a shock to a lot of people. A lot of people don't. So
yeah, it's
in whole life insurance,
especially
and
on the
IUL,
index universal life insurance,
especially in index universal life insurance.
Yep.
Which is fine.
But
I'm not being critical of that. It is what it is, but it does affect what happens.
Mm-hmm. It does. It does indeed. Because when you don't pay the premium that you were planning to pay, you now potentially have death benefit that you did not need in the sense of qualifying this as life insurance and not creating a modified endowment contract.
Right.
You may look at it as death benefit that's beneficial for you for the sake of protecting the people you care about. That's all fine. I have no qualms with that. I'm just saying that generally speaking, when you come to us and say, hey, I want you to design me a life insurance policy, we are driving the death benefit as low as possible to cut out all the expenses and make it accumulate as much cash as possible.
Right.
So when you end up paying a different premium, and you can do that, that's totally on the table. We're not telling people that's bad. We're not trying to shame them or anything like that. We're just saying that when you do that, it changes the way the policy grows cash value.
Right.
The change is not huge. It's not huge, but it does make a somewhat change. Now, that all being said, it is less impactful on universal life insurance than whole life insurance.
Right.
And I mentioned earlier, the universal life insurance policies, index universal life insurance policies have broken even cash value wise, premium paid wise sooner than the whole life policies in some cases when they are really put in force.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's happened like year 3.
Right.
We just hit it good and the index credits are amazing and things go really, really well.
Right.
And it doesn't always work out that way.
Mm-mm.
Some people are just less fortunate, but it does have some variability to how it unfolds. And yes, that can swing both positively and negatively.
Yep.
But in our experience, and there's quite a bit of it at this point, the sum of the positive times far exceeds the sum of the negative times.
Yes. Otherwise, there would be no point to do this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we would have made it to episode 400.
We might have. We're too dumb to stop. So
yeah, but we do occasionally make some money at this. So
we do.
If it was,
and we appreciate those people.
And if it was more bad than good, we would not. So
there you go. We're like index universal life insurance. We have more good things about us than bad.
But all boring. So don't worry.
Well, it is insurance. No one has ever said I've got an exciting insurance discussion to bring up.
Somebody surely has. They're not in the business anymore, but.
I got that late, but yes.
Well, you cut out there.
Oh, I said I got that late, but yes.
Winter Wonderland.
Yeah. So if the market doesn't do well, there's a setup for index universal life insurance that might make it do quite well.
Yeah.
Again, it depends on what the good and bad years are, but it also depends on what's going on in interest rates in general.
Right.
And generally speaking, if the market's not doing well, something's causing that.
Yeah.
And a very likely culprit is high inflation,
right,
and therefore high interest rates.
Right.
They're trying to combat inflation.
Yep.
And if that unfolds, and I think there's a number of people who are much more willing to accept that possibility as unfolding now than has existed the entire time that you and I have been doing this podcast up to now.
True.
If that does unfold, I'm not saying it's going to, but if it does, that is good news for fixed everything.
Yeah.
And insurance just happens to be one of the best fixed somethings out there.
Yeah. One of the things I was having a thought about this is this illustrates to me I hate to use this word because it's literally in the name of index universal life insurance, but it illustrates the flexibility and I don't mean the flexibility of paying premiums. I mean the flexibility in terms of, or maybe I should say the versatility would be a better way. There are multiple setups there are multiple positive setups for an index universal life insurance policy to work out well.
Okay.
Economically. Economic conditions can change, markets can perform in different ways, and these policies will still do well. And we're seeing certain conditions be set up right now that we haven't seen in years, literally years, and that we're showing here. It's not directly correlated to the market. Like, to me, that's the big takeaway from this episode is that everybody thinks, I mean, we know they think this because we've heard it hundreds of times at this point. I just want to talk about whole life insurance because index universal life insurance, it's a little too risky for me.
I've already got stocks.
Yeah.
I don't need any more of that.
And it's like, okay. I mean, that's fine. If you're not interested in it, I'm not going to try to talk you into it, but it's not that.
I like two things a lot: safety of principal and accumulation of cash.
Turns out they both do that. So.
And it just happens to be the case that I think index universal life insurance provides pretty much just as much safety of principal as the whole life insurance does.
Yeah.
But I think it wins the accumulation of cash fight.
Yeah.
I just do. Now, I think there are going to be some people for whom that's not true, and whole life insurance is the best option, hands down.
Yes.
I think there are other factors that may come into play.
Well, there's still all of the life insurance-y things that come into play there.
Absolutely.
How old you are, how much money we're talking about, all the normal things. But all those things being equal, I agree with you.
And we also have to take into account the way somebody may approach various assets.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that peace of mind consistency of year-over-year rate of return for whole life insurance, it means something.
Right.
And for some people, it means a lot, and that's totally okay. And in a lot of cases, when we look at the difference between what the whole life policy will accumulate, what the index universal life insurance policy will accumulate, they're different, but they're not necessarily life-changingly different.
Right.
And they become less life-changingly different depending on what other assets somebody owns.
Mm-hmm.
And what percentage all of this makes up of the overall portfolio. So those situations where we find the difference to be not huge, the peace of mind aspect to be very important, and or the amount of money going to life insurance is just not a huge percentage of all of the other wealth, then whole life insurance is fine.
Yep.
There's no reason to advocate against it in those situations. Where somebody says, look, I don't really care how I get there. I just want principal safe and accumulation to be better than CDs or whatever else I can do that's safe.
Right.
Index universal life insurance has a very, very strong story behind it that is now proven empirically.
Yep.
We have more than enough data now to look at it and see how it has performed relative to everything else that existed.
Yep.
Under a bunch of different economic scenarios. And it proves to be very versatile in a number of different situations. Whole life insurance, I'm not going to say it's as versatile. It's just really good at staying extremely static.
Right.
So nothing really changes.
Right.
That's good in bad times, but kind of bad in good times.
Yep.
Index universal life insurance, on the other hand, can benefit more from good times, but still doesn't really lose out in bad times. So amazed at that statement, you just silence, contemplative silence.
I was actually thinking,
hear it
I was actually thinking of a food comparison, but anyway, it's like whole life insurance is a good tomato sauce. IUL is Rotel. It's got a little kick to it. Sometimes you just want plain tomato sauce, but sometimes you need a little extra zest. They're still both tomatoes.
I can't top that. So, with that said, I am Brandon Roberts.
And I'm Brantley Whitley.
Thank you so much for joining us for 400 episodes, by the way. We will see you next week.